Welcome to another insightful and impactful episode of Inner City Culturally Virtual After School Program. I am Mr. Williams, and I thank you for joining me today. We have been talking about working on our leadership skills. We have been talking about the things that it takes to actually be an effective leader. We've talked about those skills, and we've also talked about how to work together as part of a team. We've also understood that we have to have mutual respect for one another in order for us to work together as a team, thusly being good leaders. Today, I'm going to talk about communication skills. Why communication skills? Because if we can't properly communicate the goals that we're trying to achieve to others, how do we get them to follow us? If we can't properly listen to other people's opinions and understand how we may get a goal satisfied, then we have problems. Communication skills is something that we learn way back as babies, and we continue to nurture that education throughout our lives, always trying to learn to be better so that we can better communicate with one another more respectfully, okay? And thusly, we're able to work together. Okay, so I have a short video in which I want to show you guys. I'm going to share my screen and show you about proper. Basically, it's like a Olympics kind of thing, where the participants are being judged on how well they communicate with their regular peers and friends. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the skills that go into proper communication. So take a moment and check out this video.
Hello and welcome to the Communication Olympics, where kids are tested to see who can speak up and listen well. I'm your host, Walker Walter.
And I'm your host, Melissa Marissa. First, we have John Rigby. Last year, he famously took out his cell phone while Frankie Richardson was telling him about how her cat, Mr. Pickles, had diabetes.
It's like he didn't even care about what she had to say at all.
We have our judges scoring our athletes on a scale of 1 to 10. This is the listening event, so judges will be looking for proper active listening technique. Judges are looking for eye contact and nodding. You also have to give someone undivided attention, meaning you're actually trying to understand what the person is saying. Asking questions and making acknowledging statements also leads to a high score. Let's take this to our woman on the ground, Carissa Callahan. Carissa?
John is engaging in conversation with his friend Valentina.
So Steph just left me. I didn't have anyone to see the movie with, and she didn't even say sorry. Like, we've been friends since she moved in across the street. Yeah, it's like really messed up.
Love that question asking. He would have gotten a higher score for restating what Valentina's original concern was and asking a clarifying question. But overall, it shows he's engaged.
I have like 3 hours of homework and 2 tests.
Oh no, it looks like a really cool caterpillar is climbing pretty close to John's sandwich. Look at those colours. This is a very cool caterpillar. Let's see what happens.
But now she's acting like we don't even watch music videos together 24/7.
Oh, hey, cool. Look at this caterpillar.
Hey, look at what?
He wants to talk about that very cool caterpillar because he's no longer interested in the conversation, but also wants to be a good friend to Valentina.
Hey, you know, that really sucks. Have you tried telling her how you feel and that you're upset?
I haven't. It's pretty cool of you to hear me out like this. Let's get to Mr. Roberts.
And he recovers. John clearly did the right thing by not getting distracted, even if he was getting bored. Then he nailed it with a great introspective question. Judges give it an 8.2. He was docked a few points for looking away, and we could have seen John stating the concern back to her. Back to you, Melissa Marissa.
Wow, that really was a great caterpillar. Next up, we're looking for effective communication style.
Like how someone sounds when they talk?
Definitely not, Walker. Judges are looking for assertive communication, which means being direct and honest about what you want without using any put-downs or making someone feel bad.
That's what I meant. Today, we're looking at Natasha Stevens. Let's jump right in as we see her being pushed to take money from her parents' money jar in the kitchen.
Dude, the money's right in the kitchen. Take $10 so we can go get gulpies at Fasty Mart.
I don't really want a gulpy.
Yeah, right.
Uh-oh. We know Natasha. She's not being direct enough. She doesn't want to steal from her parents. She does really want a gulpy.
If we were at my house, I'd do it.
Okay, maybe they won't notice.
This is classic passive communication. Scores very poorly with judges. Wait. It looks like Natasha might turn this around because she's literally turning around.
Dude, you know what? It's not right to steal from my parents. It's not worth losing their trust. I don't know if you can come over if you're going to act like this. And, by the way, I always want a gulpy.
Okay, I hear you.
I haven't seen a comeback like that since Skip Levinson in the 68 games. Perfect example of assertive communication. Judges give it an 8.9.
She started out passively. She gave in and said yes, even if she didn't want to.
Maybe she can try yelling at him next time to make him feel bad for stealing.
That's what we call aggressive communication, and it too scores poorly with judges. When you're responding out of rage or fear, you can hurt someone's feelings and even violate their rights. When she turned around, it was classic assertive communication. She was direct about how she felt, even if it was hard to say.
That's all the time we have today.
I'm Marissa Melissa.
And I'm assertively communicating that we're out of time.
Nice try, Walter.
Okay, signing off.
As you can see, that video was about assertive communication. There are basically 3 levels of communication. There is passive, basically when you allow the person speaking to you to convince you to do what they want you to do without giving thought to what is right or wrong. Assertive communication is basically the same communication happens, but you assert yourself or state that, you know what, that's not right, and I'm not going to do that. Aggressive communication, as you saw in his video, is basically the yelling at someone, trying to make them feel bad about what they have communicated to you. One of the things I want to talk about a little bit further is what we call the 7 C's of communication. Okay, the first C is clear. You want to make sure that the message that you are trying to get across to someone is clear, that they can understand what it is you're trying to communicate. Okay, the second is concise. You want to stick to the point. You don't want just a lengthy diatribe to someone that you're talking to and have them become disinterested. Okay, you want your message to be concrete. It should be clear on what you're talking about. If I come in here and I'm talking to you about how we're going to put together a team, then you should understand that shortly as I begin speaking. It shouldn't happen well into my conversation, okay? And I want to make sure that my communication is correct. I don't want to come in here and use a bunch of technical words that some non-technical people may not understand. I don't want to make it too elementary that someone who's more educated will feel like I'm talking down to them. I want to make sure that my communication fits my audience. So I want to make sure that it is correct. I want to make sure that it's coherent, that point A leads to point B, leads to point C, and they all tie together back to point A, so that you again understand what it is I'm talking about, thusly leading us to the next C, which is complete, so that you understand at the end of my conversation what it is we need to do so as to proceed and to fulfill our goal. Okay? If I've done all this talking and you don't understand how we're going to proceed, then I've wasted your time. And that should never be my goal, and that should never be my outcome. So I want to make sure that when I'm communicating, even with my friends, yeah, there's sometimes for joking, and that's okay. But when I'm trying to get a point across, it's important that I follow these C's. And lastly, and not leastly, is about courteous. I want to make sure that my communication doesn't talk down to anyone, that it's friendly, that it's honest, and that I'm open about what it is I'm saying. I don't want to disrespect anyone, because we understand that when we are working in teams, that disrespecting one another is not okay. It's not cool. It's not going to be allowed. It shouldn't be allowed. You shouldn't allow yourself to be disrespected by someone else, and they shouldn't allow themselves to be disrespected by you. So basically, we want to work on our C's when we're communicating with one another. And then let's talk about listening. We want to take the time to let the person we're listening to know that we're truly listening. Ever so often, a nod of the head as to something they say, or to repeat back to them what they've said so they understand that we are listening and we do have empathy, not necessarily sympathy. And I'll explain to you the difference so that it's clear. Empathy is the understanding that someone feels the way they feel, not necessarily that you feel the same way. Sympathy is that you feel the same way someone else is feeling, even though it may not actually touch you. Okay? We want to be empathetic to someone who's speaking to us, and there are times for being sympathetic. But if it's just a general conversation and someone explaining to you something that has happened to them, you may just need to be empathetic, understanding that they feel the way that they feel. Okay? And then we want to make sure that we are using correct type of communication when we're speaking. If it's a time when we can be passive because we're just listening because someone may need to get something off his or her chest, we can be passive in that particular communication. But when we're asked to take action, we generally want to be assertive. We want to listen to what the person is saying and determine whether or not for you or for us, whether or not the action they're trying to get you to take is an action that is correct for you. If that action is correct or not, you then want to be assertive in explaining why you're going to take action or why you're not going to take action. And we try to avoid aggressive communication whenever possible, because basically that's just yelling at someone. And generally, when people are yelled at, they generally don't listen. I know I don't. I don't know about you, but I am Mr. Williams. I thank you for having joined me today. Until next time, have a great day. Take care.